Sonic the Hedgehog speedruns have a problem. A timer problem. Ever heard that one before? The faster you beat a level, the greater your time bonus is. Since a bigger point count takes longer time to count down, this means that it can take longer in real time to move on to the next level if you beat the previous one fast enough than if you just waited a few more seconds for a lower time bonus. That doesn't sound very fun or in the spirit of speedrunning now, does it? Thankfully, there's an obvious solution. Just use the in-game timer, and the sum of each level's timer is your final time. It's completely foolproof, is what I would say if that pesky pause button didn't exist. Last year, I made a video on how speedrunners abused pause buffering in Sonic 2 to get faster times. What started out mainly as a technique used for one trick in Metropolis Zone eventually spiraled out of control, to the point where the classic Sonic speedrunning community voted to change how the speedrun should be timed. Interestingly enough, while Sonic 2, 3, and Knuckles had moved away from using the in-game timer, Sonic 1 runs continued to use the in-game time as the primary metric on the leaderboard, despite theoretically having the same pausing problem as those games. Surely, that means that Sonic 1 doesn't suffer from the excessive pause buffering. Right? Right? Oh no. It didn't used to be this way. So, what's so powerful about pausing anyways? Well, at a base level, pausing in Sonic the Hedgehog allows you to frame perfectly buffer an input on the controller. You pause the game, hold down or let go of your desired input, and upon unpausing, that input will come out on the next frame, or in the case of letting go, will cease that input on the next frame. This can come in handy for making a quick maneuver in a tight spot, or as you'll soon see, some very broken glitches. These include zips and level wraps. Take Marble Zone Act 2 for example. This was one of the first level wraps to be implemented in a full game run, notably in TNT's viral 1303 world record set in 2012. It was consistent enough to where you can get it without pausing. In fact, for the longest time, there was no trick used in the speedrun that required pausing. This was in stark contrast to its sequel, Sonic 2, where pause buffering had been used to perform the Metropolis Act 3 level wrap since 2012. Sonic 1 lacked this for the longest time, but then, in 2019, one of the biggest discoveries in the game had put a definitive end to the pauseless meta. Even with pauses, it was by far the most difficult trick in the run by a wide margin, and skipped one of the game's most infamous stages, Labyrinth Zone Act 3. Labyrinth Act 3, or Lab 3 as I'll be referring to it from now on, is the longest level in the game casually. It's slow, confusing, and dangerous. So, what if you could just skip all of it? On July 2nd, 2013, TNT's tool-assisted speedrun of Sonic 1 would be published on TAS Videos, a website where TASes, which are speedruns recorded in an emulator using Frame Advance and other external tools, are uploaded to. TASes are a separate classification from real-time speedruns performed live by a human, and as a result, TASes are far faster and often show tricks that you wouldn't see in a human run. The Lab 3 level wrap was one of these TAS-only tricks, and was first implemented in the July 2013 TAS. It wouldn't be until 2017 when Zergrith, another prominent TASer, would find a setup that was humanly possible, albeit with great difficulty. But first, has your chair caused you any discomfort lately? Any pain? Well, mine has, until I switched to the FlexiSpot C7 Morpher, provided to me by FlexiSpot, the sponsor of this video. When you're sitting in a chair, speedrunning, or making videos for several hours at a time like me, you really gotta get comfortable. My old chair that I used for years lacked the proper support and flexibility I really needed as a tall guy. Now, with the C7 Morpher, it has a much sturdier build, the chair can support both the upper and lower back, and can be adjusted according to one's own needs. It has a 3D adjustable headrest with 335 degrees of range, an incredibly ergonomic backrest, an adjustable lumbar support, and other flexible features like the synchronously adjustable armrests. as well as my favorite feature, the recline function, and this awesome footrest. Yeah! I've been loving how comfier these long gaming and editing sessions are now. With a generous 30-day return policy and a 10-year warranty for damaged parts, I can't recommend this chair enough. To get started, use my code C730 to get $30 off of FlexiSpot's brand new C7 Morpher chair in the description to get the best price. If you have a limited budget, you can check out their C7 and C5 chairs, which are also in good build quality with basic functions for adjustment as well. Thank you again to FlexiSpot for sponsoring this video. The Lab 3 wrap involves 3 separate zips. The first uses this cork to clip out of bounds. By teetering off the furthest pixel off the left side of the cork, Sonic will clip into the wall as it falls down. While clipping, you have a small window to hold right for a few frames, then release and jump on the frame Sonic hits the wall to zip through. You then need to tap right for either 3 or 4 frames to get into a position for the second zip. This zip is to clip past the waterfall to the left. Clipping through the diagonal waterfall ground not only requires specific Y-axis subpixel range, but also a specific X-axis subpixel range. Subpixels being subunits of a full pixel. The X subpixels are manipulated by holding right for a few frames after jumping and bonking on top of this block part. After that, you zip and time a frame-perfect right input into a 1-frame jump input, and then let go of right on the next frame to jump for 1 frame to clip past. Both of these zips require intense pause buffering to properly line up Sonic and time the frame-perfect inputs, and there is almost no room for error. As if that wasn't bad enough, the zips are Y subpixel dependent as well, meaning if either your horizontal or vertical subpixel positions fell out of a specific range, you were doomed to fail. If somehow you managed to successfully nail 3 incredibly precise zips in a row, congrats! All you need to do for the last zip is tap right and jump, and then hold right after you land for the level wrap. The Lab 3 level wrap saves over 45 seconds, but with it being a multi-frame perfect, sub-pixel dependent trick that is barely possible without pausing, no one was eager to use this in runs. It wouldn't be until May 2017 when Worcester became the first to hit the Lab 3 wrap in an individual level run after attempting the trick on and off for years. Dang, if it took one man years to hit it just for an IL, you would have to be incredibly nuts to go for it in a full game run. But if you've been around the speedrunning community long enough, this is a tale as old as time. You just know that someday, someone, somewhere is gonna open Pandora's box. And for Sonic 1, that day was February 11th, 2019. On that day, a Sonic speedrunner named Zaxxon96 had recently picked up Sonic 1, and along with another runner, Chubbus, began innovating the full game run by going for IL and task strats. During this session, Zaxxon had lost a bunch of time in Lab 1, and was still far behind his PB heading into Lab 3. As a last-ditch effort to save the run, he went for the zips, and this is what happened.
Then it'll give you a good idea of what you're in store for.
For stroking his...
Yeah.
Look what I got, look what I got.
Oh! Oh hell yeah, here it goes, dude. Lab 3.
Are you kidding me?
Oh my god!
He got it.
Oh my god, let's go, man.
Wait.
This was the first time that the Lab 3 level wrap was hit in a run, and even though this particular run didn't pan out, runners were very excited, and more serious about this trick than ever. This wasn't without some controversy, however, for reasons that are very obvious. The pausing. A lot of runners were disappointed that now that the top runners were going for the Lab 3 wrap in runs, pausing was now a necessary evil to get a very good time. A month later, on March 16, 2019, Zaxxon achieved a new world record of 1044. Obviously thanks to Lab 3 wrap. Hey, wait a minute, what happened? He didn't get it? Then what did he do? Oh, that. This is the Scrap Brain 2 wrap, and this was the first record to feature this trick. Now, just to be clear, the Scrap 2 wrap is significantly easier compared to Lab 3, but you saw that, right? Yup, that was a pause. This level wrap is still pretty precise where you really should pause. At the start, you have to jump on a specific frame onto this cog. Zaxxon chose not to pause for the jump, but chose to pause before landing on the cog to perfectly time the down input, as after 5 full revolutions on the cog, jumping off on the correct frame clips you out of bounds, and from there, you can wrap around to the end. But here's the twist. You finish the level out of bounds, and if you can't get back in bounds, you soft lock. So what's the best way to reliably clip back in? That's right, pause buffering 2 more frame-perfect inputs. Fun! Thanks to that level wrap, Zaxxon set the first sub-11 with his 1044, a sizable time cut over the previous record that makes you wonder what could have been had Zaxxon hit the Lab 3 wrap. Both the Lab 3 and Scrap 2 wraps are among the hardest tricks in the run, so it got people wondering, when would someone hit both in a run? 10 days. Just 10 days later, on March 26th, Zaxxon hit both of them, lowering the world record down to 10:06, and people were pissed. The Lab 3 wrap finally being in a world record easily rubbed some people the wrong way. The excessive pausing on top of the high difficulty led many people pushing to ban the trick. That didn't end up happening, but now with Lab 3 and the pause buffered movement to clip back in bounds in Scrap 2 after the timer had already stopped, this was an issue that could no longer be overlooked. It was actively dividing the community. A vote needed to be held. In mid-2019, Kick-Ass Pancakes ran a poll for the classic Sonic leaderboard moderators to decide, should we continue to use the in-game timer, or should we move to real-time attack minus the time bonus countdown time, RTA minus time bonus, not just for Sonic 1, but also Sonic 2. In the end, after it was all said and done, RTA minus time bonuses had narrowly won. With this survey, a decision was made. Sonic 1 and 2 would continue to use the in-game time. Wait, what? But in-game time lost the vote! What gives? Well, consider the following. While there were more votes in favor of switching timing methods, a good 10% of the voters were undecided or indifferent, and yes, didn't even gather half of the votes. This was not a convincing enough majority to sway the moderation team, and thus, the status quo had been maintained. For now. As for the pause abuse, it became rampant. At the end of the year, Fozon had gotten the first world record under 10 minutes, a well-earned accomplishment and a monumental milestone in the game's history. But damn, he was pausing even more than Zaxxon did! In addition to the Lab 3 and Scrap 2 level wraps, there was lots of pause buffering on a new Marble 1 zip, Spring Yard 3 zip, and the Starlight 3 level wrap. The year is now 2020, and the competition is really heating up between two runners, Fozon and Joey Baby 69. Joey would steal the record from Fozon with a 940 on May 14th, using more or less the same strats as the previous record. 5 months later, and Fozon struck back with a staggering improvement of 914. He had a new trick up his sleeve, the slope glitch in Scrap Brain 1. By looking up to make a platform Sonic is standing on become invisible, you can perform a frame-perfect jump to gain a glitch state that stores the angle of the last piece of ground Sonic is standing on, which breaks the collision completely, allowing you to walk on invisible slopes in midair, and it can get you out of bounds. The slope glitch was already used to skip all of Scrap Brain 3, but thanks to a discovery by Dark Shamil Khan, the slope glitch was found to work on Scrap Brain 1, and foes used it to zip through most of the stage. With pausing, of course. And that wasn't all. In 2021, runners began implementing the Green Hill 2 level wrap, an IL strat that had been known for a while, but wasn't done in runs due to a very high chance of failure from grazing a def plane that rises with the camera. However, another player, the new era Sonic prodigy Eandis, discovered that by pause buffering and then pressing right in frame-perfect locations when the screen wraps by a tunnel near the end of the stage, this made the wrap remarkably more consistent and viable for full game runs. This was then used by Joey Baby in his world record of 9:02. Dang, that's another minute barrier just around the corner, and probably even more pausing. How much lower could the run possibly go? The year is 2022, and in the Sonic speedrunning community, there was a true conqueror that took the classic trilogy by storm. The previously mentioned Eandis, and they pulled out all of the stops, all of the pauses, and the first sub 9-minute run. They set 5 Sonic 1 world records in 2022 alone, all the way down to a ridiculous 836, which includes some absurd pause buffering in Spring Yard 1 for precise movement and in Spring Yard 2 for zips. Now, this was getting a bit ridiculous, because now we have reached the point where both the first and second place times were sub 9 in-game time, but nearly a minute slower than Joey's 9:02 in real time. This was not like 2019, where pausing was required for tricks like the Lab 3 wrap, but the real time was still reasonably proportional to in-game time. However, as more difficult tricks were added to an already brutal run, it's no wonder that the rate of pause buffering ballooned out of control. It may have been several years overdue, but in March 2025, Sonic 1 speedrunners held a nearly unanimous vote to switch the timing method of their runs from in-game time to real-time minus time bonuses. With only one dissenting vote, the community, soured by the unmistakable inaccuracies of in-game time and influenced by the Sonic 2 timing change from the prior year, made this decision to switch to RTA minus time bonuses a no-brainer. This, of course, retroactively orphaned Eandis' and Foe's PBs, and Joey's former world record of 9:02 from 2021, now a 14:04 under RTA minus time bonuses, is the official world record as of making this video. Now, when this happened with Sonic 2 in 2024, Eandis also lost the record, but quickly adapted and reclaimed it. So why? Why hasn't anyone beaten Joey again? It's simple. The run is that brutal. Not only is Lab 3 a notorious run killer, but some of the newer strats like Spring Yard 2 zips just weren't seen as worth it. That's not to say the run hasn't seen some new developments in response to the timing methods changing. Runners are adapting by pausing less and less for tricks like Green Hill 2 wrap and Scrap Brain 2 wrap. And I'm very interested to see how Sonic 1 runners continue to adapt with less reliance on that dang old pause button. Special thanks to Joey Baby, Fozon, Zaxxon, and Sega Junkie for their help with research and proofreading my script. Links to their channels are in the description below. Thanks again to CD for editing this video. And thank you so much for watching, and remember to shoot for the moon.